Welcome to the virtual college fair. Thank you for joining us. A few housekeeping announcements before we get started. You can use the Q&A button on your screen to type your questions to our presenters at any time. Your camera and microphone are off, so the panelists cannot see or hear you. This is just one of many different sessions happening, so be sure to sign up for additional sessions. This presentation is being recorded and will be available within about a week at the same website where you registered. And now I'd like to turn it over to our presenters. Take it away.
Hello, everyone. My name is Phil Welsh. I'm a senior admission representative at Cornell College. I'll be leading the presentation today, and then I'm also here with my colleague, Adira Jean.
Hi, everyone. I'm Adira Jean. I've been working in the admission office for about 4 or 5 years now, and I graduated from Cornell 2012. Phil will be presenting and I'll be answering your questions in the chat box. So if you have questions that come in during the presentation, feel free to enter them below and I'll be happy to answer them.
Yes, thank you, Adira Jean. And yes, Adira Jean was a student at Cornell College, so please feel free to write those questions. She will actually answer them while I am presenting. So as I mention things, if you have follow-up questions, feel free to go ahead and put those in the Q&A. I'll share my screen at this time and we can go ahead and we'll start with about a 4-minute video that just kind of gives you an overview of our one course at a time block plan, something that is very unique to Cornell College. All right, enjoy.
Cornell College offers so many unique opportunities, extraordinary opportunities.
I have never been able to ask of students on the semester plan what I can ask of students on the block plan.
The block plan, or what we call one course at a time, is a unique learning environment where students take one class for 3.5 weeks.
The block plan gives me 18 days to spend all day long with students focusing on one particular subject.
You have these small groups that spend so much time together and you learn from each other. That discussion-based learning was so fundamental to my education.
It's focused and it's easier to not get distracted, but it's also easier to get involved in things because of the way our days are structured here.
Classes are over by 3, we practice at 3:30. It's the perfect setup of not having to sacrifice academics or my sports life, so it's pretty nice.
We have new facilities in the sciences, so the Russell Science Center is a particularly exciting aspect. We involve students in research in small groups, and so I can get to know them very well and provide the support and mentorship that they need.
Having the flexibility to be with a student for 4 hours a day allows us to engage in hands-on activity to learn the material that we're teaching.
If it's lecture for 4 hours a day, anybody's going to start banging their head against the wall, but we don't do that. We've got studio work, we have lab time, we have field trips.
When you take students to the sites of the content that's being studied, then the material comes alive.
Cornell gave me the opportunity to travel abroad, and that really broadened my horizons, and now I tell every student, you should study abroad. It's such a great enhancement to what you're learning at Cornell.
When I go to Rome with a class, we are investigating ancient Rome, and we can stand in the forum and talk about it. That is an extraordinary experience in and of itself. That is not part of the classroom. And we can do this because there are no other courses in conflict.
I've actually been asked by several parents why other institutions don't use the block system if it's such a wonderful way to learn. The block system is very resource intensive.
When it comes to your professors, they do a phenomenal job of really making sure that they are available for you. They want to see you succeed.
When I'm in a class with students every day, 5 days a week for a month, 4 hours a day, we very, very quickly develop a relationship. Students are really in it together. They're supporting each other, they're helping each other out, they're all proud of each other's accomplishments.
I had a class with 16 other people, 24 at the most. So you get this community that values learning and that does everything possible to support a higher level of learning.
When our students go on to graduate school, they report back that it's easy. It's because they're used to pacing themselves and achieving things in a much shorter period of time.
We're just having students going out to great success, and what they're telling us is that the block plan did an excellent job of preparing them for upper level study, even on a semester plan, and also to go out and work in the professional world.
There is no doubt that the level of commitment, the level of engagement, the level of accountability is much higher here than any institutions on the semester plan. The type of commitment to themselves, to their subject matter, to their peers that's possible here, you're not going to find it anywhere else.
If you want to make a difference in the world, you come to Cornell.
All right, so what that video just summarized was Cornell College's block plan, or what we call one course at a time. So here's how it works. Every student at Cornell College takes one course at a time, and they never take more than one course at a time. So this visual representation is our academic calendar, and each of these different colors represents a different block or a different period of time while you are taking your one course. So every course will always begin on a Monday. Usually classes start around 9 o'clock in the morning or so, and you'll go to your class for maybe 2 hours. Then you'll break for lunch, get a couple hours off to eat, maybe meet with your professor, stop by the library, get a nap, come back early afternoon for your afternoon session, and then at 3 p.m. you are done with class for the day. And that is how it will work every day, where you will be in class 5 days a week for 3 full weeks. And then in that 4th week, then it would just be Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. So 18 total school days you are starting and ending a college course. And that may seem kind of hard to believe that you could actually achieve an entire math course, physics course, English course in just 3.5 weeks. But actually, you are going to be in class for more hours during those 18 days than you would be at most semester schools. Because typically at a semester school, you might be in class for a total of maybe 2 to 2.5 hours a week for 4 months. But here, you're going to be in that class for more than that time each day. So you're just going to get so much learning, and it's going to be fresh in your mind from one day to the next. These are small classes in size. Our average class size is just 14 students per class, and the maximum number of students, just 24. The cap at 24 for every class. So this allows for you to really get to know your professors well. It also allows for you to work with your peers very closely. Almost every course at Cornell College, you're going to be asked to do some kind of small group collaborative experience, perhaps presenting. And that really builds wonderful skills in terms of just how to work with other people, and then also how to gain confidence speaking in front of peers, which really, really helps when it comes time, getting closer to graduation and preparing for that next step. You'll also notice that at the end of every block, these white spaces represent our block breaks. So since that 4th week always ends on a Wednesday, that Thursday, Friday, plus the following weekend, that's 4 straight days where you have 0 academic commitments. It is a true break. You're not preparing for your next block class because it hasn't started, and usually that professor, they're finishing up their grades for their previous block course that they taught. So that's 4 days off where you can go home, visit with friends, or just hang out on campus and relax. It gives you that time you need to recharge for the next block. Now, keep in mind something. Not only is every student taking just one course at a time, every professor is also only teaching one course per block. So that really allows for these professors to have you be their center of their focus for those 18 days. And they are able to give you very regular feedback so that you know right away how you're doing in the course. You'll notice that in addition to the block breaks, we still get a week off at Thanksgiving, we still get multiple weeks off at the holidays, and we get a spring break. So you'll get lots of time off, which is very needed actually for a lot of our students, partially because they come from so far away. We have 47 of the 50 states represented, 16 countries, and only 20% of our student body comes from Iowa, where we're located. You could compare this to a semesterly school. You're still going to be on your 4-year graduation pace. 95% of our students who graduate from Cornell College, they do it in 4 years or less. And they're doing it taking just one course at a time. So each course is worth 4 college credits. So 16 credits for the term, which makes you a full-time student. You're just able to put all your focus into the one class. This gives you the ability to immerse yourself in that experience. And not only that, it also gives your professors many different ways to teach. They're not bounded by only having 45 minutes. They can take you on a field trip that starts in the morning and you get back in the early afternoon. They can arrange distinguished guest speakers to come into your classroom. You can watch a film and you can watch it from start to finish in one class session. The possibilities are endless for how instruction can be delivered. And that is why we implemented the block plan in 1978. Yes, 42 years Cornell College has been doing the block plan. We are one of just 3 schools in the country to do this and the only in the Midwest. Another thing too to keep in mind is that recently our faculty, and this was in response to the COVID pandemic, just added now to what we call flex blocks. So these are 2 additional blocks now, in addition to the 8 blocks that you are going to be taking during the school year. Now you could take up to 2 more flex blocks during the summer. This could give you the opportunity to graduate early if you desired in 3.5 or even possibly 3 years. This was done as a way to accommodate students who were affected by the COVID pandemic. If, let's say, the class that they wanted to take was offered, but they didn't feel comfortable coming back to class, they now had the ability to instead take it during the summer at no additional charge. But I think that even once COVID has subsided, we're going to be seeing these flex blocks being utilized more and more by students who wish to study during the summer. The other really exciting change that we recently made is the faculty decided to lift the cap on transfer credits. So we know a lot of you are taking, advanced dual enrollment, AP, IB courses, CLEP credit, whatever the case may be. If you have the ability to transfer in college credit, there is no cap now to the amount of credits that we will accept. Again, that's already up to this point before this change was made, 95% of our graduates were graduating in 4 years or less. Imagine now what that number is going to be now that we have these flex blocks and now that we have no cap on transfer credits. This next slide is actually going to be a student testimonial. This is a student, Gabby Farrow, who graduated 2 years from Cornell College. And here's a little bit about her story.
My coaches have had huge impacts on the way I approach tennis and life. All of my theater professors and guest lecturers have helped me believe in my artistic ability and taught me the value of long hours of hard work. My biology and chemistry professors have pushed me to learn amounts of information I didn't know my mind could handle. My language and humanities professors have helped me learn to see the beauty in the world. My data and statistics professors have helped me find the joy in contextual detective work with numbers. And my bosses have taught me to be a kind listener.
So Gabby is from Gladstone, Missouri. She was a theater major, a 4-year varsity tennis player. She also was a tutor in our quantitative reasoning and writing studios. She was in Phi Beta Kappa, and she studied off campus 3 times. She went to New York, she went to the Bahamas, and I think her favorite place that she went to is Scotland. She did all of it in 4 years at Cornell College. Now, any college that you're considering that presents to you is going to have all-star students like Gabby that they can highlight in a presentation like this. The difference, though, is that at Cornell, Gabby is not the exception. I know so many students at Cornell College who have been involved in so many things just like Gabby. Not the same things that she got involved in, but because of the block plan and being done by 3 p.m., the rest of that day, that's yours. If you're an athlete, that's the time that's going to be dedicated to your practice or team activities. If you want to get involved in music or dance or art, or maybe you want to join a student club, student senate, maybe you're passionate about the environment, about politics, whatever it is that's you're passionate about, esports, that time can be reserved for that. You can get involved in all these different things in your 4 years, and that looks really impressive on a resume when you're applying to graduate school, or if you're just simply going into the workforce right away. Employers love being able to hear about your unique college experience, and Cornell College can accommodate that. Just a quick reminder as well, if you have questions that are brewing, now's the time to put them in the Q&A. Adira Jean can respond to them. Now let's take a look at our campus. We are located in Mount Vernon, Iowa, which is a smaller town of about 5,000 people. It's about 20 minutes east of Cedar Rapids, which is the second largest city in Iowa, over 100,000 people. It's just north of Iowa City. But you can see in this diagram, All of those light spaces in that radius, those are all major Midwestern cities that are within a 4 to 6 hour drive of Mount Vernon. So if you have any desire to explore and kind of take in the culture, you've got those opportunities, because remember, we have those block breaks after every block. And of course, there's always the weekends too. So that's where we are located. And then here's our campus. So on our campus, we have 4 different residence halls for our first year students. Over 90% of our students live on campus. So we are very much a residential campus where the student life is very vibrant. 3 of those first year residence halls are located together here in what we call Tri Hall. And then the 4th residence hall is down here a little bit lower on the hill by our sports center. We are overlooking, we are on top of a beautiful hilltop where you can see for miles every direction. It's absolutely gorgeous. And all of our first year residence halls are air conditioned. You get assigned a roommate. You can request who your roommate is if you know someone who's coming. And so it really gives you that great experience in terms of on-campus housing. When it comes to dining services, our dining, Bon Appetit is our dining provider, and they have been nationally ranked for the quality of their dining. And as soon as you eat there for the first time, you will know exactly why. The quality of their food is exquisite. They bring in food from, I believe, 10 different local farms regularly to provide very fresh ingredients whenever possible. Every day you'll have your choice of grill station, vegan, vegetarian options, global options. You'll always have pizza and pasta and soup and salad and delicious desserts. It is truly, in my opinion, one of the ultimate perks of being a part of the Cornell College community, being able to eat in this dining hall every day. When it comes to our student health and safety, Cornell definitely invests in that. Our campus safety is available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And not only will they be attentive to any emergencies that you ever would experience, but they'll be there for you to help you jump your car. Say it gets cold in the wintertime and your car won't start. They'll be there within minutes. If you get locked out of your residence hall, you can call campus safety and they'll let you in. They can give you an escort from one side of campus to the other. If, let's say, you're walking by yourself and you just would like to have an escort, call campus safety. They're there for all of that. When it comes to health and counseling, we have 2 full-time mental health professionals. You can usually get an appointment within a day or 2. They're there for you, as well as a full-time nurse. We also have a campus chaplain. Cornell College was founded as a United Methodist Church in the 1850s, and we still affiliate ourselves with the UMC Church. We welcome people of all backgrounds, all faiths. To anyone who wishes to worship, Alley Chapel is where our worship takes place, and they also offer yoga and meditation sessions as well during the week. When it comes to extracurriculars, it is not an exaggeration to say that most students at Cornell College are involved in other things besides the classroom. We have 19 different sports, all NCAA Division III. We have music, theater, and dance. Our music, they'll perform in our wonderful King Chapel, and the acoustics in there are just incredible. You have to actually experience it to know what I mean. When it comes to theater, we'll have 4 to 6 productions every year, student-led. All of these events are just included in your tuition. You never need to pay a thing extra to attend any of these student-led events on campus, and that's awesome. We've got an art gallery too, McQuethy Hall. That's where all of our art students, our studio art students, art history students, that's where they'll study. You can have studio access as an art student 24 hours a day. If you feel that artistic inspiration at 3 a.m., head over to the art studio and you've got access to that. And there's also some wonderful galleries that you can witness as well. Student activities. We have over 50 student organizations at Cornell College, and those are just the ones that exist right now. If you're really passionate about something and you want to start a student organization, you can do that easily. All you have to do is, I think, get about 100 signatures, and then the Student Activities Office, the Student Senate will approve it, and then you're even given a little bit of funding too for your organization. So really, really cool stuff. And then finally, our Intercultural Life Office. We have students, as I mentioned a little bit earlier, right, from all over the world, 16 countries, 47 of the 50 states, over 20% of our students are students of color. We've got every political identity, sexual identity, religious identity, and you'll be able to meet people of all these different backgrounds while you're a college student. I think that's one of the wonderful things about college. And our intercultural life office, they do some awesome programming. One of my favorite weeks that they do is International Week, where they will celebrate all these different traditions that are present among our student body. When it comes to support, academic support, one of the reasons why our students are so successful as Cornell College is because they have people there that are ready to help them whenever they need. Starting with our library, Cole Library. It's both our library and Mount Vernon's public library. This is where all of our studios, kind of when I was talking about Gabby earlier, right? She was a tutor in the quantitative reasoning studio, in the writing studio. All those studios have tutors, no additional charge. You can walk in and get help. You can make an appointment if you prefer. And even if you're just looking for a quiet place to study, 4 different floors in this library, and it's open, I think, until 1 a.m., 5 of the 7 days of the week. And I think it's open until about 10 or 11 the other 2 days a week. You have a place you can always go for academic support. And then when it comes to faculty mentoring, we do not have any advisors here who are just staff members. All of the advisors that you will work with as a student at Cornell College, they are the professors. And I cannot tell you how much of a difference that makes. I used to do academic advising work at a previous school. I was not a professor. I advised nursing and business students. I did my best and I enjoyed working with them, but I could never give them the kind of insights that a professor in those fields could give them, right? They have the professional wisdom and the background experience to really be able to advise you well. And that's the kind of access you'll get as a student from Cornell College. That's how much you'll be able to work with the faculty members and get to know them. And they'll be able to write you great letters of recommendation when you graduate. And finally, speaking of graduation, these green spaces represent kind of what I like to think of as our resources to prepare you for the next step. So if your next step is you want to go to law school or you want to go to medical school, the Berry Career Institute houses programs that will prepare you for that. So for instance, medical school, we have a program called the Dimensions program. We have 10 different pre-medical tracks. Whatever medical track you wish to pursue, they will work with you, and 75% of our students who apply to medical school are admitted. That is exceptional. The national average is just under 40%, and 75% of our medical students get admitted. And it's because of the great work of the Berry Career Institute and specifically the Dimensions program. When it comes to student employment opportunities, if you want to work on campus and make a little extra money, there are over 60 supervisors that will hire students around campus. We hire them in our admission office, dining services, facilities, residence hall, if you want to be an RA, whatever it is that you'd like to get some work experience on, Cornell College has a place for you. And the great thing about it is, if you get hired on campus, they will be flexible with you when it comes to your class schedule. We all know as supervisors, your first responsibility is to be a student. So if you want to do student employment, go for it, and there will be that flexibility for you. And finally, alumni networking. When it comes time, if you want to graduate, let's say you want to go out to a coast, right? Go out to Seattle, go out to DC, New York, whatever it is, we've got alumni that live in all those places. And our alumni services, they can hook you up with connections that you may want to have so that hopefully you can get a foot in the door and relocate where you want to relocate. One more thing I forgot to mention too about the Berry Career Institute. They arrange all of our internship and research experience on campus. And those two things, research and internship, so valuable to undergraduate students. Those are the sorts of things that a lot of times you have to go on to graduate school, or if you go to a large school and you want to do it in undergrad, you're going to have to apply for things that sometimes 100 other students are applying for. Here, our campus is just 1,000 students, and we have so many research and internship opportunities that you can do either during a block or during the summer. And speaking of off campus,
I think students are really excited about classes in the new building. I think that the building is set up in such a way that there's a seamless transition between classroom and laboratory, and I think that's very exciting. In the old building, the transition would be from floor to floor. Here we go from one room right next to a contiguous room and we're in the lab. The other thing that's pretty exciting about this building, I think, is the open spaces. There's lots of open spaces for faculty and students to interact.
Sorry, I got a little ahead of myself. We'll talk more about off-campus in a minute. That was Professor Craig Tupper from our biology department talking about our newest academic building on campus, the Russell Science Center. This houses our biology and chemistry classes and is also where the Dimensions office is housed, which I was mentioning earlier for our pre-med students. This building is absolutely gorgeous, and it was built with the block plan in mind. So by that, I mean every lecture hall, every lecture room is connected to a lab. And just like Professor Craig Tupper said, anytime that professor wants to have you get up out of your seats and just walk next door to the lab, they can do that. And that really helps the learning stay with you. When I went to undergrad, I didn't go to Cornell. When I took my bio class, I had lecture 3 days a week, about 45 minutes a day. And then the other 2 days a week, I had to go to a separate building with a teacher's assistant to do my lab. Here, there are no teacher's assistants. The professor themselves is going to be working with you as you go into the lab, and you won't need to have to worry about anyone else messing with your lab equipment. You're the only one, you and your classmates have exclusive access to those 2 rooms for the block. Now, learning without boundaries. So as I was mentioning earlier, right, if you want to do research or internship experiences and you want to travel off campus to do that, we give you those opportunities. And even if you'd rather not do research or internship and simply just take a class off campus, we have opportunities for that as well. So we had over 70 classes in the last 4 years alone that have gone off campus. We go everywhere. We've gone to India, Italy to do language classes. Every year we go down to the Bahamas for a marine biology class, highly, highly popular. Tanzania, there's environmental science classes you can take there. You can go to Shanghai and take economics. Whatever it is that's your passion and you want to go somewhere, we've got an office that will support that. Currently with COVID, right now, our off-campus studies have been suspended, but as soon as it's safe to do so, we have every intention of reopening our off-campus studies in full. Now, you may be thinking to yourself, okay, so I could go to a lot of colleges, but really once I graduate, besides my experience, what am I actually going to be able to really talk about that makes me a really strong candidate for graduate school or for jobs? Well, we are just launching this year a new curriculum called Ingenuity in Action. And here's how it works. Our faculty put this together. It starts with 3 foundations classes. The very first class you will take as a first-year student is a first-year seminar course. This course is not any particular subject. In fact, it's actually a breadth of multiple subjects, and it could be taught by any professor in any department. Whatever section of the FYS, the first year seminar that you're in, it's going to be the exact same curriculum as the other, say, 20 sections that are being taught. So if, let's say, you're living in your residence hall and you make really good friends with the person across the hall, even if you're not in the same class as them, they have the same assignments as you and the same readings. You could get together for study groups and continue to build those relationships. So you'll do your first year seminar, get used to the block plan. Then during your first year, you'll also take a first year writing course. That will get you used to college level writing. And part of that course is utilizing the writing studio. So that way every student has the opportunity to use the writing studio. And then in your sophomore year, during the first block, you will now also take a sophomore seminar. This will work differently than the first year seminar. This will be more of a project-based course that helps you apply what you've learned during your first year into your second year coursework. So that's the foundations. Now let's talk about building essential abilities. So part of Cornell College's belief, being a liberal arts school, is that every student needs to have certain essential abilities to be a well-prepared student who's a really good global citizen. Those include taking foreign language. It also includes quantitative reasoning. It does not need to be a math class. It could be a statistics or physics class. And then also, in addition to that, taking an intercultural literacy class, where you will take a class where you are doing some kind of literacy work of a culture other than your own. When it comes to explorations, this will require that you take at least one course in 4 different areas: fine arts, humanities, sciences, and then social sciences. So you can take a course in any of those 4 years, and it could be at any point in your 4 years. But what this curriculum does is, no matter what you choose to major in, you're still going to be able to have the opportunity to take courses in a lot of different areas, take some really fun classes, and it's going to count toward your graduation. It's part of the requirement. So I think that's an awesome, awesome thing. And then when it comes to the portfolio, every student will now be completing a portfolio. And actually, you'll start your portfolio at the end of your FYS class during your very first block. You'll put this portfolio together over your 4 years. And by the time you graduate, you will have a wonderful portfolio of your work that you can show to any employer or any graduate school. So we are preparing our students for that next step. And let's talk a little bit more about the FYS course, because there's really 4 different individuals that will sort of be your support during your entire first year. And you can always reach out to these people. You've, of course, got your first year seminar professor. So the professor who teaches that very first course that you take, again, as I mentioned earlier, right? Your class is the only class they're teaching for that block. So you've got a professor on your side immediately. Then you've got your academic advisor, which is a faculty member in whatever academic area of interest you have. So if you're interested in business, you'll have a professor in the business department that serves as your faculty advisor. They will put together your entire first 4 blocks. So your fall semester, those first 4 blocks you take, you'll have all those put together before you step foot on campus. Then you've also got 1 or 2 upper class student mentors. So these are upper class Cornell students that we hire to be your mentor for your entire first year. And they will work with you actually even before you start your first class. So you've always got that support and knowing where to go. And then finally, you have a first year seminar success instructor. These are staff members who volunteer their time to work with you outside of your class to help you with time management strategies, how to conduct yourself civilly, how to write emails in a respectful way. Those sort of what I like to think of as success/survival skills of being a college student. You're going to have all these people to help guide your way. We're not going to expect that you just step foot on campus and say, oh, okay, good luck. No, we want you to be successful. And that's why Cornell has put together these people for you. Now, a couple last things before I wrap up, and then we'll take some questions. I mentioned earlier about our 95% of our graduates graduate in 4 years or less. But how about the next step? What percentage of them are employed? What we always do is we poll our students within 6 months after they graduate. This latest poll, 96% of our graduates who were seeking employment are employed within 6 months, 96%. And I say seeking employment because not all of our students do that immediately. Between about 15 and 20% of our graduates immediately go on to graduate school. And so for those who do that, I mentioned earlier about our medical school acceptance rate, 75%. Our law school acceptance rate is over 90%. We make sure that our students are getting to the next step of where they want to go.
If I could describe
Cornell in one word.
If I could describe Cornell in one word.
One?
Just one?
One word.
One word.
One word. It would be challenging.
Remarkable.
Unique.
Opportunity.
Involvement.
Family.
Home.
Community.
Togetherness.
Intense.
Open. Engaging.
Focus.
Experiences.
Motivating.
Caring.
Amazing.
Outstanding.
Home.
Unique.
Community.
Intense.
Magical.
Life-changing.
Empowering.
Awesome. It's really awesome.
You couldn't tell that was not scripted. Those were those students' genuine responses to what they would say if they could describe Cornell College in one word. I wasn't a student at Eugene was. I can only speak from my perspective, but I work with current students very closely. I've worked at 3 other colleges. This student body is by far the most open-minded and welcoming student body that I've ever worked with. I don't think it's a coincidence. I think the one course at a time block plan, it brings people and attracts people who are open to different ways of thinking. And I think you'll find that no matter what it is you're passionate about, there is a place for you at Cornell College. And there's other like-minded people who want to hear your story and get to know you. If you are interested in applying, and let's say you're currently a senior, our application is open currently. We accept the common application, the coalition application, and we even have our own Cornell application. You can use any of those, and they all work great. We are test optional. We do not require test scores. That was the case even before the COVID pandemic. We've been test optional for, I believe, 6 years now. And we just believe that your test scores, while if you test well, that's great. You can include it in your application, but if you don't want to submit test scores or you weren't able to, no problem. We believe that that is not the strongest predictor of your academic success at Cornell, not nearly as much so as your GPA, your community service involvement, or those letters of recommendation you include. So that's some information. And if you're younger than a senior right now, no worries. Our application for each coming year opens usually in late June, early July. So there's some information. And of course, we would love for you to visit campus. We are actually accepting individual on-campus visits at this time. If you just go to our website, you'll see on our very first page, visit Cornell, and it'll take you right there. So that's a little bit about Cornell College. Adira Jean, did we get any questions?
Yeah, we got a lot of really great questions that I was answering via the chat. And if you have additional questions, I think we still have some time left, so you're welcome to put it in the chat below. And Phil and I would be happy to answer those. I know we did get a couple questions about tuition and scholarships. And I think the thing that I always really stress to families is that we don't have an app fee. So if you're feeling nervous about applying to colleges, especially right now, I think that there's a lot of stress about financial aid. And especially when you look at private colleges, the cost is a little misleading. So something that I always tell families is we don't have an app fee. Our scholarships are very generous. And so the cost that you see is very different than the cost you pay. You're going to be able to see all that information, see the financial aid at no cost to you. And I think that reassures a lot of families as well. It looks like there's a question about how much emphasis is placed on class rank. And we look at that a little bit when we're looking at your transcript, but each school I think has a very different setup. And so I think we put a little bit more emphasis on that GPA and the classes you're taking. So we might look at that. But if you have a lower class rank, it's not going to affect whether or not you get admitted. I don't know if you have anything to add to that, Bill.
Well, I don't have anything to add, Eugene, but I would be remiss if I didn't ask you, since you're the alum here, what's maybe one thing that what did you enjoy about being a Cornell College student? What do you now, as a professional, really value about your Cornell education?
That's a great question. So I think that we do a really good job of individualizing that education. And I know that a couple years ago, there was an article about what is most helpful for students to succeed. And what they find is that that mentor relationship is really what helps you succeed, what helps you stay in college, really helps you, get through that, especially that first year. I think all of us who have gone through the college experience know that there's times when you're far away from home, you might feel a little nervous, you really need that additional support. And that's something that I found. You work really closely with your professors. And I think when I'm talking to the tour guides that we have here in the admission office that we interact with, and I also help oversee some calling students. And when I talk to them, I think that a common theme we hear is that mentorship, that strong relationship with their professors. I think a lot of students don't know what they want when they first go into college, but with the work of a faculty member, the work with, staff members, they really get a sense of what they like. And then the faculty is like, okay, great, let's make this happen. Let's explore this. Let's find you an internship. And I think that that's just something we do really, really well. It looks like we do have some questions coming in. So one of the questions is Cornell more competitive or collaborative between students? I definitely would say collaborative. I think that there are times when you feel challenged by the school and by your faculty members, but they want you to succeed while other students are succeeding as well. They don't want you to succeed and have someone else not. And Phil, I don't know if you have anything to add to that as well.
Well, I just absolutely agree with that, right? If you imagine a competitive school, right? I mean, the classic example is generally how many law schools are, right? That's sort of the law school's philosophy is we'll admit you, maybe easier than medical school, but once you're there, super competitive, right? At Cornell College, not the case. In fact, one of the things that makes Cornell so cool is that you don't even have to declare your major your first year. You can take that whole first year to explore, take introductory classes that, remember, are still going to count toward your core curriculum requirements, but you can just explore. And if you want to change your major or wait to declare your major, you can do that. There's nothing competitive about that. That is just Cornell's investment in you as a student saying, okay, you invested in us, you chose us. Now it's our turn to invest in you and get you to where you want to be. So I absolutely agree with it, Eugene. Collaborative, not competitive.
I think another question that was asked, and I know you talked about the student life aspect a little bit, but someone asked what activities are available on campus. I think specifically they were asking about mock trial. We do have a mock trial. They did really well. I know the last couple years, so there's 3 teams, and all 3 teams have qualified for nationals. Unfortunately, we can only send 2. So that was kind of a happy, sad moment for us, but they compete against schools like Harvard and Yale, and they do really, really well. So we're very proud of our mock team, but a wide range of student activities. I think one of my favorites on campus is chess and games. As you can see behind me in my messy basement, I have a lot of movies and TV shows, and chess and games is a really big group on campus. They'll do a lot of like Super Smash Brother tournaments. They'll do live chess. They actually tape out this carpet, and they have people be live chess components, and they get to do a live chess tournament, which I think is really cool. It's really fun to watch. So they'll do a lot of kind of those board games, video games, stuff like that. And Phil, I don't know if you have any special or groups on campus that you really think are cool.
Well, I mean, it's hard to pin down just one. But one thing I will say is I am very, very proud of our Eco Club. I think our Eco Club is very outspoken. They have really pushed for a lot of environmental consciousness, and I think you can see when you're on our campus just how many decisions now are made in terms of like water control and like the restrooms and how much water comes out of the sink. And a lot of that was inspired by our Eco Club really caring about those efforts. And so again, it's hard to sort of select one, but I think sort of whether your passion is gaming, or whether your passion is the environment, or whether it's something else, there is a place where you can get involved. Either that club currently exists or it's waiting for you to start it.
There was I think we are just kind of right at time, so I think we only have time for one more question. Someone asked about the graduation rate, and I think they were referring specifically to the 6-year graduation rate. That is a statistic that is required by, I can't remember the name of the organization, but basically it's required since we receive funding to report to them what our 6-year graduation rate is. And that is something in which we are looking at, of the students that start at Cornell in their first year, how many graduate within 6 years. And it's a little bit tricky of a statistic, because there's a lot of things that go into it beyond just the students who stay at Cornell. I think it looks at the students that possibly decided not to stay at Cornell. So that rate is a little bit different than some of the things that we try to talk about. So I think the big thing to look at is what you're really looking for within that 6-year graduation rate. One of the things that we find at Cornell, of the students that stay at Cornell in their first year, of those students who stay all 4 years, a really high percentage graduate within 4 years. It's like 97%, and that's really typical from year to year. Looking at that 6-year graduation rate, because not everyone stays at Cornell within their first year, that statistic tends to be a little bit lower as well. And Phil, I don't know if you had anything to add to that.
Yep. So when it comes to retention from starting in your first year, our retention from the first year to the start of the second year is 70%. And then our retention, the 6-year rate of starting at Cornell to graduating from Cornell College within 6 years, I believe is mid to high 60s. I think 68% or so for that 6-year graduation rate. Again, it's very possible that if a student left Cornell College, they still graduated, they just graduated somewhere else. But a lot of factors, as Deirdre said, can go into that in terms of graduation rate. So yes, I'm glad that you asked that question, because there is a difference between our graduation rate and then what percentage of our students graduate in 4 years. So thank you for that question.
And I know that there's probably other questions. So if any of you have questions that didn't get answered, feel free to reach out to us. One of the things I love about Cornell is it's pretty easy to email students or email faculty members or staff. It's just the first letter of our first name and then our last name. So my email would be A as in Apple and London, like the city, at cornellcollege.edu. And you're more than welcome to reach out to me if you have any questions or you want to know about my experience. I'd be happy to talk to you further about anything that you wanted to know that didn't get talked about.
Yep, and same here, P. Welsh, if you wish to email me directly, or if you have a question and you aren't sure who the best person to answer it is, your go-to email should be admission@cornellcollege.edu. Admission with no cornellcollege.edu, or just check out our website. Like I said, homepage, schedule a visit. We'd love to have you.
Thank you. So thank you everyone for joining us. When you go to close this window, there will be a link to a very quick 4-question survey. We'd appreciate any feedback you can provide. Also, this was just one of many sessions being hosted, so be sure to check out the full sign up and sign up for additional sessions. In about a week, you'll be able to find this session's recording as well as all of the other sessions recordings online at the same website where you registered. So, all right, just making sure that your Q&A is done. All right, goodbye, everyone.
Thanks for coming, everyone.